Natalee Ann Holloway was an 18-year-old American girl who vanished on May 30th of 2005. She vanished near the end of a high school graduation trip to Aruba. The disappearance of Natalee made international news due to the complexity and mystery of the case. As of today, her remains have not been found. On this episode of Cauldron Convos, we're going to be discussing the Natalee Holloway disappearance. My name is Kayla, this is Xenu, and we are Cauldron Convos. To our loyal subscribers, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for voting on our poll. We had a poll asking what topic we should do next, giving a few options, and this one was the winner. So thank you guys, whoever voted, and stay tuned for more polls in the future. So let's get into before the trip. Natalee lived in Mountain Brook, Alabama during high school. She was very smart. She was going to do pre-med on a full-ride scholarship to the University of Alabama. She was in the National Honor Society as well as the dance squad. Her successful time in high school came to an end when she graduated from Mountain Brook High School. And just a few days after she graduated, she went on her graduation trip. Natalee, 124 graduates from her high school, and 7 chaperones arrived in Aruba for a 5-day unofficial graduation trip. The graduates were letting loose a little bit. They just graduated high school. They're 18 years old, so they can drink in Aruba. They're having fun. They're going to be spending time with their friends who they probably won't see. Maybe most of them.
Ever again.
Ever again. So they're having a grand old time doing things that 18-year-olds do. Now, the 7 chaperones to 125 kids, the chaperones are clearly very outnumbered. Each chaperone would have to be responsible for like 17 or 18 kids each. So as you can see, the chaperones weren't there to really know where they are at all times. And according to teacher and chaperone Bob Plummer, the chaperones met with the students each day to make sure everything was fine. But Jody Behrman, who organized the trip, stated the chaperones were not supposed to keep up with their every move. That was a quote from Jody, who organized the trip, who probably felt like scared that she was going to be blamed for any part of it.
Thinking about it retrospectively, I would not trust my 18-year-old self in Aruba.
Yeah, me neither. Now, we know from this trip now that the police commissioner Gerald Dompig, who headed the investigation from mid-2005 until 2006, stated that the Mountain Brook High School students engaged in, quote, wild partying, a lot of drinking, lots of room switching every night.
Uh-oh.
And we also know that the Holiday Inn that they stayed in told them that they weren't welcome back next year. The police commissioner continued by stating, Natalee, we know she drank all day, every day. We have statements that she started every morning with cocktails. So much drinking that Natalee didn't show up for breakfast for 2 mornings. 2 of Holloway's classmates, Liz Kane and Claire Fearman, quote, agreed that the drinking was kind of excessive. Now, I don't want to bash Natalee because no matter how much you drink, no matter what you drink, you should not be kidnapped or killed or taken advantage of or anything. Nothing should happen to you, when you get to that point. Especially when you're with 124 peers. Like classmates, you think that they would have
stepped in, maybe
stepped in a little bit just because they're young. Like,
but they're probably drunk too.
Yeah, I know, but I just didn't. It left a bad taste in my mouth. But they were like, yeah, the drinking was a little excessive. Maybe it was like, well, they were trying to push the blame off of them. But
yeah, that's a nice easy excuse. But at the same time, you have to be responsible for yourself. Yeah, in a certain capacity.
Yeah.
But not that it's anybody's fault.
I don't even want to imagine the things that I did when I was 18.
I don't want to imagine the things that you did when you were 18.
Done in Aruba. But in addition to calling out her alcohol consumption, her classmates noted that they saw Holloway around 1:30 in the morning on Monday, May 30th, as she was leaving the Orangestad bar and nightclub Carlos and Charlie's. So that's where she was leaving. That's where she was last seen. She left in a car with 17-year-old Joran van der Sloot, who is a Dutch honors student who is living in Aruba and attending the International School of Aruba with his 2 Surinamis. How do you say that? Surinamis? There's a country named Suriname.
Whoa.
And his 2 Surinamese friends, brothers, 21-year-old Deepak Kalpo, who was the owner of the car, and 18-year-old Satish Kalpo. I had no idea that Aruba was part of the Kingdom of Netherlands, but it is. You learn something new every single day, guys. She didn't make it to her flight. Her parents were wondering where she was. Her friends just thought she slept in. She probably had a late night, and she slept in and missed her flight. So what happened after that? Now, Aruban authorities held searches for Natalee throughout the island and surrounding waters, but did not find her. Immediately after her parents found out that she missed her flight and couldn't get in touch with her, her mother and stepfather flew with friends to Aruba by private jet to go looking for her. Within 4 hours of landing on the island, her mother and stepfather gave the Aruban police Vandersloot's name. Now, how did the mom get this guy's name? She went to the Holiday Inn, the night manager, and the night manager supposedly recognized Van Sloot on videotape and gave her his name. At first, Vandersloot denied knowing Holloway's name, but he then told a story corroborated by Deepak Kalpo, the person that was, there with them as well. It's very sketchy that he said that he didn't know her at first. I mean, okay, if you're scared, but you should know better than not to lie.
Yeah. When you open up with a lie, it's kind of hard to believe you.
Yeah. And he also noted that they drove Natalee to the California lighthouse area of Arashi Beach because she apparently wanted to see the sharks. And then afterwards, they claimed that they dropped Natalee back off at her hotel at about 2 a.m. According to Vandersloot, Natalee fell out of the car when she was, being dropped off, but refused his help when he offered help for her, which seems like a really horrible story or lie to tell. He stated that as he and Kalpo were driving away, Holloway was approached by a dark man in a black shirt similar to those worn by security guards. So he's trying to push this blame onto, okay, there was someone else there. There was a man that we saw there with Natalee. We weren't the last ones with her. Now, hundreds of volunteers from Aruba and the United States joined to help look for Natalee. During the first days of the search, the Aruban government gave thousands of civil servants the day off to participate in the rescue effort, which is pretty
good.
Nice, yeah. I was kind of surprised by that, and I hope that those people were actually looking. Instead of yes, a day off.
You would love a day off.
They're just at the beach oh, we're looking real hard.
Oh, jeez.
50 Dutch Marines even held an extensive search off of the shore. Aruban banks raised about $20,000 and provided support to aid volunteer search teams. According to an April 19th, 2006 statement made by her mother, the video cameras at the Holiday Inn were not functioning the night that Holloway vanished.
That's always the case.
It literally is. I've literally
the police's body cam was off that day.
Yeah. Police Commissioner Jan van der Straten, the initial head of the investigation until his 2005 retirement, said that Holloway did not have to go through the lobby to return to her room. So if she wasn't going through the lobby, she could have gotten to her room another way, basically. In addition to looking for Natalee's body, they were also searching for physical evidence just in general, but they had some occasional false leads doing this. For example, a possible blood sample was taken from Deepak Kalpo's car, which was tested, but was determined to not even be blood.
Oh, jeez.
So it's imagine getting the news, we found a blood sample, and it's this is just Taco Bell sauce packets. So now let's get into the arrests of some suspects. Well, on June 5th, Aruban police detained Nick John and Abraham Jones, which were former security guards from the nearby Allegro Hotel on suspicion of murder and kidnapping. Now, officials have never officially disclosed the reason for their arrests. Statements made by Vandersloot and the Kalpo brothers may have been a factor in these arrests. Reports also indicated that the two former guards were known for cruising hotels to pick up women, and at least one of them had a prior incident with law enforcement. But on June 13th, both of them were released without being charged. On June 9th, the Kalpo brothers and Vandersloot were also arrested on suspicion of the kidnapping and murder of Holloway. Now, it's interesting because Aruban police and the Aruban law allows for investigators to make an arrest based on serious suspicion.
Yeah, well, it's like that in a lot of countries.
I didn't think that it would be.
It's not like United States is very good criminal justice system compared to other places. For example, Japan, their conviction rate is 99%. Can you believe that?
However, for them to continue holding the suspect in custody, a, quote, increasing evidential burden must be met at periodic review. So they can't just hold them indefinitely, obviously.
Once a week, they're oh, is there more evidence this week?
From the very beginning of the investigation, they were actually observing the three men that Natalee was last seen with, the Kalpo brothers and Vandersloot. Now, they were observing surveillance cameras, telephone wiretapping, and even monitoring their emails. And I don't know, I just feel like they would be stupid enough to not think that would happen. The investigation continued, but David Cruz, who was a spokesperson for the Aruban Minister of Justice, falsely indicated on June 11th that Holloway was dead, specifically, and that authorities knew the location of her body. So at this point, she was just missing, but, they didn't have a body, they didn't have proof that she was dead, but he said that out loud.
Yikes.
But then that same evening, Dom Pig, who was the police commissioner that we talked about before, alleged to the Associated Press that one of the detained young men admitted, quote, something bad happened to Holloway after the suspects took her to the beach and that the suspect was leading police to the scene. The very next morning, a spokeswoman named Vivian Vanderbiesen refused to confirm nor deny the allegation. So I feel like if she's not confirming nor denying,
yeah.
I feel like one of them did admit that something bad happened.
That typically means it's true.
Yeah.
I cannot confirm or deny it. People are way more likely just to deny stuff.
This is also crazy because on June 17th, another person who was a disc jockey, Steve Gregory Crows, was also arrested based on information from one of the 3 detainees. So it's crazy that these 3 men or whatever, boys, are just able to be like, oh yeah, this one guy, whatever. And then they're allowed to just arrest him.
Well,
on suspicion because these 3 people that were the ones that was last seen with her said that.
It's so goofy.
How ironic. And then on June 22nd, Aruban police detained Vandersloot's father, Paulus Vandersloot, for questioning, and he was arrested the same day as well. Both Paulus and Crows were ordered to be released on June 26th, so they only spent like 4 days, so they could chill. They're fine. But during this period, the suspects who had been detained changed their stories up, which is a red flag.
Yeah.
You don't change your story up.
Like a coherent, did they all change their story at the same time?
Yeah, all 3 of them indicated that Vandersloot, Sloot, and Holloway were dropped off at the Marriott Hotel Beach near the fishermen's huts. So instead of saying that, they dropped off Natalee together, now it's, according to them, that Vandersloot and Natalee were actually with each other at the hotel beach. Now, Vandersloot stated that he did not harm Natalee, but he left her on the beach. But according to Satish Kalpo's attorney, Vandersloot called Deepak Kalpo to tell him that he was walking home and sent him a text message 40 minutes later. But then, during the interrogation, Vandersloot detailed a third account that he was dropped off at home and Holloway was driven off by the Kalpo brothers. So he's now saying he didn't walk home, he was dropped off, and the Kalpo brothers were the last ones with Natalee and they dropped her off. So it's kind of like they're just trying to point fingers on each other because they're probably scared that one's going to rat the other one and whatever. However, the police noted that they believed the second story, that they were dropped off by the Marriott beach.
Who?
I guess Natalee and
Vandersloot?
Mm-hmm. After hearings from a judge, the Kalpo brothers were released on Monday, July 4th. But Vandersloot was detained for an additional 60 days. That's kind of crazy. On July 4th, the Royal Netherlands Air Force deployed 3 F-16 aircraft equipped with infrared sensors to aid in the search, but the results came up empty. So this is quite long after she disappeared. When did she disappear again? May 30th. So that's when she disappeared. Now we're in July. Let's get into more of the search. A local gardener actually came forward with information that a pond was partially drained between July 27th and the 30th of 2005, and that this pond was actually near the Aruba Racquet Club, which was close to the Marriott Hotel Beach. It's claimed that the gardener claimed to have seen Vandersloot himself attempting to hide his face as he drove into the Racquet Club with the Kalpo brothers on the very early morning of May 30th between 2:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. Then another person, who is an unnamed jogger, we don't have their name, claimed to have seen men burying a blonde-haired woman in a landfill during the afternoon of May 30th.
And they just didn't call the police?
I know, right? It's like,
get out of here. Oh, we just saw them.
It's Aruba. We do the things we gotta do. Like, what?
We just see them burying a blonde woman. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but it didn't really add up because the police had originally searched the landfill in the days following Holloway's disappearance. After hearing the jogger's statements, they searched the area 3 more times. Didn't find anything.
Interesting.
And the Holloway parents kept increasing the reward for any information for Natalee's disappearance or, her safe return, eventually hitting $1 million for her safe return and $250,000 for just information leading to the location of her remains. Investigators even found a piece of duct tape with strands of blonde hair attached to it. But the samples were tested in a Dutch lab, and the FBI announced that the hair did not belong to Holloway. Whose hair is it then, and where are they?
Yeah.
And the Kalpo brothers were arrested again on August 26th, along with another suspect, a new one this time, 21-year-old Freddie Arambatzis, who was a friend of the 3 men, the Vandersloot and the Kalpo brothers. Vandersloot's mother stated, quote, "It's a desperate attempt to get the boys to talk, but there is nothing to talk about." On September 3rd, the 4 detained suspects were released by a judge. In the months following his release, Vandersloot gave several interviews that explained his version of the events that happened, what went down the night of her disappearance. The most notable interview was broadcast on Fox News for over 3 nights in March of 2006. During his interview, Vandersloot stated that Holloway wanted to have sex with him, but he did not because he didn't have a condom. I don't know if that's believable. But
I don't buy that.
Me neither. And why would you go on Fox News?
His name is Vander Sloot.
Yeah. He stated that Holloway wanted to stay on the beach, but that he had to go to school in the morning. According to Vandersloot, he was picked up by Satish Kalpoe at about 3 a.m. and left Holloway sitting on the beach. In August of 2005, David Koch, Kalpoe's attorney, stated that his client had gone to sleep, not returned to drive Vandersloot home. So we're having the friend's attorney say the opposite of Vandersloot. So clearly someone is lying, and I feel like that's enough to show that one of them is guilty. If they're all lying about it, like if you're innocent, why would you have to lie about the story over and over again? And Vandersloot stated that he was somewhat ashamed to have left a young woman alone on the beach, by her own request though, of course, and related that he was not truthful at first because he was convinced that Holloway would soon turn up. In January of 2006, the FBI and Aruban authorities kept pushing on the investigation. They re-interviewed several of Holloway's classmates as well. They searched more areas in January, March, and April with no result. Before the police commissioner, Don Pigg, left the case, he actually gave an interview to CBS in which he stated that he believed Holloway was not murdered, but probably died from alcohol and/or drug poisoning, and that someone hit her body. Don Pigg also stated that Aruba had spent about $3 million on the investigation, which was about 40% of their police operational budget for like the entire year.
Jeez.
So I think in saying that, he's trying to, make it a point that they were actually trying. Don Pigg indicated that there was evidence that pointed to possession, though not necessarily use of illicit drugs, by Natalee Holloway. But member of Holloway's family noted that she's, never used drugs before, but I don't think that's really...
Yeah, I kind of throw that one out the window, yeah.
Me too, like...
Everybody's parents is probably
yeah, I'm like... Anyway.
It's okay, they don't watch this anyway.
April 15th of 2006, Geoffrey van Kromvoort was arrested on suspicion of criminal offenses related to dealing the narcotics, which, according to the prosecutor, might have been related to the disappearance of Natalee Holloway. However, he was released in 10 days, like basically everyone in this case.
Everyone.
On May 17th, another suspect, Guido Weaver, the son of a former Aruban politician, was detained in the Netherlands on suspicion of assisting in the abducting, battering, and killing of Holloway. He was questioned for 6 days, but he was also released.
It's interesting how that specific charge includes battering and the murder, not just the abduction. It's like true. They almost know something.
They know something, yeah. This is when Aruba actually requested that the Netherlands take over the case, in which a team of the Dutch National Police started working on the case in September. A book by Vandersloot and reporter Zvezdana Vukush called The Case of Natalee Holloway was published in Dutch in April of 2007. In the book, Vandersloot gives his perspective of the night that Natalee Holloway went missing, and the media frenzy that followed it. He admits and apologizes for his initial lies, I guess, but maintains that he was innocent. That just doesn't sit right with me that he would write a book about it.
Yeah.
On April 27th, a new search was launched at the Vandersloot family residence in Aruba. They searched the yard and surrounding area, and although they didn't specify what prompted the new search, the prosecutor's office noted that the team had, quote, indications that justify a more thorough search. So they were finding things out, clearly, if they were able to search his home. And according to Vandersloot's father, Paulus Vandersloot, quote, nothing suspicious was found, and all that was seized were diary entries of him and his wife and his personal computer. Also, are you and your wife writing diary entries together? Is this, do you have your separate diaries that you write in, every night about each other? I'm confused what that meant, but sure. And less than a month after Vandersloot's home was searched, the Kalpoe brothers' home was searched as well on May 12th. Citing what was described as newly discovered evidence, Aruban investigators re-arrested Vandersloot and the Kalpoe brothers in November of 2007 on suspicion of involvement in manslaughter and causing serious bodily harm that resulted in the death of Holloway. Dave Holloway then announced a new search involving a vessel for his daughter that probed the sea beyond the original 330-foot depth search which had taken place earlier. However, this was later abandoned due to a lack of funds to proceed with the search. So this is 2 years later, too.
Yeah.
2 years later, he is still hiring a vessel to look for his daughter. It just seems like he wants closure at this point. On November 30th, the judge ordered the release of the Kalpoe brothers. Vandersloot was released without charge on December 7th due to a lack of evidence implicating him, as well as a lack of evidence that Holloway died as the result of a violent crime. In December of 2007, the prosecutor office declared the case closed and that no charges would be filed due to the lack of evidence. So although Vandersloot and the Kalpoe brothers legally stopped being suspects, the prosecution noted continued interest in them and alleged that one of the three, in a chat room message, had stated that Holloway was dead. But Deepak Kapoor's attorney stated that the prosecution had misconstrued a reference to a teacher who had drowned as one to Holloway, which I don't know about that. In February of 2008, the Dutch media reported that Van der Sloot made a confession regarding Holloway's disappearance. Later that day, Van der Sloot stated that he was telling the individual what he wanted to hear and denied any involvement in her disappearance. Aruba's prosecutor office announced the reopening of the case on the same day, and they released footage recorded from hidden cameras and microphones in the vehicle of Patrick van der Eem, who was a Dutch businessman and ex-convict. Don't we love a double? And in this footage, Van der Sloot was seen smoking marijuana, of course, and stating that he was with Holloway when she began convulsively shaking, then became unresponsive. So he said this in a videotape, right?
Yikes. It sounds like a drug overdose. I wonder if it was an accidental drug overdose from these guys, and then they got scared. They decided to get rid of the body.
Van der Sloot stated that he attempted to revive her, but wasn't successful. He said that he called a friend who told Van der Sloot to go home, and the friend disposed of the body. But the person denied Van der Sloot's account, stating that he was then in Rotterdam at school. The Aruban prosecutor's office attempted to obtain an arrest warrant for Van der Sloot, but a judge denied the request. I don't know why, like, if you have footage of him, but whatever. The appeals court held the statements on the tape were inconsistent with evidence in the case and were insufficient to hold Van der Sloot. Like, I love how that's the thing that they're like, we can't hold him. Like, meanwhile, they're arresting him every other week for, like,
some
things
else,
that they,
another conspiracy theory on the crime.
Admitting.
They won't arrest him.
Sorry, not this time.
Sorry, we need
a real proof.
Yeah, we need some less proof to arrest you here. We need to do a little bit more of inferring.
This is too good.
We have to read between the lines a little bit more.
On February 8th, Van der Sloot denied that what he said on the tape was true, stating that he was under the influence of marijuana at the time.
What?
Let's just say, when you're under the influence of marijuana, you don't suddenly start making shit up. Like, you're still the same person with the same mind. Van der Sloot indicated that he still maintained that he left Holloway behind on the beach. In March of 2008, news reports indicated that Van der Eem was secretly taped after giving an interview for Aruban television.
Oh.
The businessman / ex-convict.
Jeez.
Van der Eem, under the impression that the cameras had turned off, disclosed that he had been a friend of Van der Sloot for years, which contradicted a statement on De Vries' show that he had met Van der Sloot in just 2007. So after Natalee's disappearance. He also said that he expected to become a millionaire through his involvement in the Holloway case, and that he knew the person who supposedly disposed of Holloway's body, and that Van der Sloot had asked him for 2,000 euros to buy the man's silence. And guess what Van der Eem already had done at this time? He already signed a book deal, a fat book deal, and was, quote, furious after learning of the taping and threatened the interviewer who sought legal advice. Van der Eem's book called Overboard was released in Dutch on June 25th. Like, the audacity to still release the book.
Oh my god.
Like also, is anyone buying these books? Like, did they really
I hope not. I wonder if you can pull up the Amazon reviews.
Ew. Okay, good. It only has 6 ratings. Thank God.
What are the reviews?
It got, I love how the someone gave it a 2-star. Like, give it a 1, what? A 2-star. They're like,
maybe the
good book,
literary
bad
structure.
Guy.
Good book, bad guy. You're kidding me? It says that?
No, I just made that up. No, but they don't even have like actual review. Like, no one wrote. Oh wait, very good journal by the guy who secretly videotaped Joran van der Sloot in his car confessing Natalee Holloway disappearance in Aruba. The story is how the gangster gained the trust and had got him to confess. Okay, the gangster.
Dang.
Okay, but do you realize that he like wasn't a good guy too? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think any of these people are good guys.
Me neither. Oh, guess what? That happened to Van der Eem. I forgot about this. He was arrested on December 13th in the Netherlands for allegedly hitting his girlfriend with a crowbar and engaging in risky driving behavior while fleeing the police.
Oh,
sounds
smoke
like a really
for the
good
crowbar.
Guy. I'm going to message that guy on Amazon and be like, can you remove your 5-star review? On November 24th, Fox News decided to bring Van der Sloot on again. Like, why bring him on again when the last time he clearly lied? Like, whatever. But this time, On the interview, he alleged that he had sold Holloway into sexual slavery.
Oh my God.
Receiving money both when Holloway was taken and later on to keep quiet. Sloot also alleged that his father paid off 2 police officers who had learned that Holloway was taken to Venezuela. Like, what?
Jeez.
Wait,
well,
can the Fox News even, like, Fox News should have sent someone to this guy's house while he was admitting this.
Yeah, sex slavery is very serious, and it's a serious problem, especially in those Caribbean countries where people just disappear. But to go on Fox News and just admit it?
But wait, he later retracted the statements made in the interview. So either this guy's like, well, he is clearly super messed up, but like either he's messed up because he wants to be famous of some sort. I don't know. It's so weird.
It sounds like he wants some fame, not clout.
Yeah. But Fox News also
Fox
I
News.
know. I don't know. Fox.
You're turning Dutch.
Fox News also aired part of an audio recording provided by Sloot, actually, which he alleged is a phone conversation between him and his father. So he's just willing to give Fox News an audio
I love
recording.
this guy.
In this, the father displays knowledge of his son's purported involvement in human trafficking.
Jeez.
The Dutch newspaper called De Telegraaf reported that the father's voice is almost certainly that of Joran Sloot himself trying to speak in a lower tone. So he's really trying to get the fame here. He's doing
Hello,
fake
father. Yes, how are you, son?
Oh, can you tell me, did you know about me selling? Okay, I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, his dad died of a heart attack on February 10th, 2010.
This is absurd. I
know.
didn't realize the absurdity of this.
And it just keeps going. Like, this is now we're in 2009. We're in March 20th, 2009.
But
this
wait.
is 4 years later. On March 20th, 2009, Dave Holloway, so Natalee Holloway's father, transported a search dog to Aruba to search a small reservoir, how do I say that word, in the northern part of the island. How upsetting, how sad. Not upsetting, like, it's so sweet and sad. I feel so bad for him. How nice.
He's trying so hard.
He brought a search dog. On February 23rd of 2010, it was reported that Sloot had stated in an interview that he had disposed of Holloway's body in a marsh of Aruba. New Chief Prosecutor Peter Blanken indicated that authorities had investigated the latest story and had dismissed it. I don't know how this guy's not in jail. Like, why these people are still letting him speak. Like, he's clearly doing it for attention. He keeps changing up the story.
No. I've been thinking about this for a bit now. Why would he pretend to have a conversation with his dad about making up that he sold her into sex slavery? Because that seems like it's almost better than killing her.
In March of 2010, underwater searches were conducted by Aruban authorities after an American couple reported that they were snorkeling when they photographed what they thought might be human skeletal remains.
Oh, geez.
Possibly those of Natalee Holloway. Aruban authorities sent divers to investigate, but no remains were ever recovered. And now we're getting into Sloot's extortion of the Holloway family, as if he hadn't put them through enough. On March 29, 2010, Sloot contacted John Q. Kelly, which was Beth Twitty's legal representative. Beth Twitty, that's her new name after she remarried. Beth is Natalee's mom. And he contacted her legal representative with an offer to reveal the location of Holloway's body and the circumstances surrounding her death if he were given an advance of $25,000. The legal representative notified the FBI they actually arranged to proceed with the transaction. On May 10th, Sloot had a $15,000 wire transfer to his account in the Netherlands following the receipt of $10,000 in cash that was videotaped by undercover investigators in Aruba. Authorities stated that the information that he provided was false because the house in which he said Holloway's body was located in had not yet been built at the time of her disappearance. On June 3rd, Sloot was charged in the U.S. District Court of Northern Alabama with extortion and wire fraud. U.S. Attorney Joyce White Vance obtained an arrest warrant and transmitted to Interpol. On June 30th, Sloot was indicted on the charges. At the request of the U.S. Justice Department, authorities conducted a June 4th raid and confiscated items from 2 homes of his in the Netherlands. But then, on May 3rd of 2010, 5 years to the day after Holloway's disappearance, Stephanie Flores Ramirez, a 21-year-old business student, was reported missing in Lima, Peru.
Jeez.
She was found 3 days later, dead, in a hotel room registered in Sloot's name. On June 3rd, Sloot was arrested in Chile on a murder charge and extradited to Peru the next day. On June 7th, Peruvian authorities said that Vandersloot confessed to killing Flores after he lost his temper because she accessed his laptop without permission and found information linking him to Holloway. Vandersloot told Peruvian police that he knew where Holloway's body was and offered to help Aruban authorities find it. On June 11th, Vandersloot was charged in Lima Superior Court with first-degree murder and robbery. On June 15th, Aruban and Peruvian authorities announced an agreement to cooperate and allow investigators from Aruba to interview Vandersloot in prison in Peru. In a September 2010 interview from prison, Vandersloot reportedly admitted to the extortion plot, stating, quote, "I wanted to get back at Natalee's family. Her parents have been making my life tough for 5 years. Okay, but you clearly made their lives tough. On January 11, 2012, Vandersloot pleaded guilty to murdering Flores and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. In June of 2011, 6 years after Natalee's disappearance, Dave Holloway, her father, filed a petition with the Alabama courts to have his daughter declared legally dead. The papers were served on his ex-wife, Beth Twitty, who announced her intention to oppose the petition, so she did not want her daughter to be declared dead. A hearing was held on September 23rd of 2011, at which time probate judge Alan King ruled that Dave Holloway had met the requirements for a legal presumption of death. On January 12, 2012, a second hearing was held, after which Judge King signed the order declaring Natalee Holloway to be dead. On November 12th of 2010, tourists found a jawbone on an Aruban beach near the Phoenix Hotel and Bubali Swamp, but based on dental records, the jawbone was not of Holloway, and it was not even possible to determine whether it had come from a man or a woman. In 2016, Dave Holloway hired a private investigator to once more go through all of the evidence and information related to the disappearance of his daughter. But this actually led to an informant named Gabriel, who claimed to have been a roommate of one of Vandersloot's closest friends, American John Ludwig, in 2005. Gabriel gave a detailed description of what happened on the night of Natalee's disappearance. Using Gabriel's information, the investigator had found what appeared to be human bones, but in October of 2017, DNA testing concluded that one piece of bone was human, but did not belong to Natalee. On the show, Ludwig claimed to have helped Vandersloot dig it up, smash, and cremate Holloway's bones in 2010. In March of 2018, Ludwig was stabbed to death by a woman he tried to kidnap.
Oh,
These
no.
people are kidnapping left and right, killing.
Don't go to Aruba.
Horrible. Dr. Phil's television show showed parts of a hidden camera interview with Deepak Kalpo in which he seemingly affirmed a suggestion that Holloway had sex with all 3 men. The taping had been instigated by Jamie Skeeters, who was a private investigator. When the tape was broadcast, news reports indicated an expectation of a rearrest, which Dompick termed a strong possibility if the tapes were legitimate. Aruban police subsequently provided a fuller version of the relevant part of the tape in which Kalpo's response differed from the Dr. Phil version, apparently due to editing that may have altered the meaning of what was said. That's bad on Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil, are you surprised though?
No,
I'm not.
Not really. All that being said, we're here, 2023, still no closure
Natalee
on what happened to her. Now, I thought it was Vandersloot, right? I'm assuming that he knows what happened. He knows. But he's serving 28 years in prison now. Why wouldn't he just tell people?
Well, because he doesn't want to serve more time.
But, that's true.
That's 25 to life, my friend.
I know. But, you think that he would have some type of revelation in jail? Maybe, find Jesus. So who do you think did it? What do you think happened?
I think it was Vandersloot.
Yeah, me too. But do you think the Kalpo brothers know? I feel like the Kalpo brothers, if they knew anything more, they would have told at this point, right?
I mean, they probably know more.
I just feel bad for the parents because I feel like they were never able to get closure that they needed.
Definitely no closure. That's terrible.
And this whole thing with the lying and the different interviews, the different reports, the fake audio recording. It's are you kidding me? You've already ruined so many people's lives doing this, whatever.
It's
and then
terrible.
You keep lying. It's just crazy. People like that, I'm like, who made you? How are you the way you are?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt you? Anyway, rest in peace to Natalee Holloway.
Well, if she's dead,
which she was pronounced dead, but I hope
please
she's
consider
not.
visiting the links in the description. And please, 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 if you have any information on the disappearance or whereabouts of Natalee Holloway, please reach out. Not to us.
Police. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week on the next episode of Cauldron Convos.